Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS, continuing with college football week 4, big ACC game here. Florida State on the road in Death Valley to play Clemson. Lines Clemson +2, total sitting at 55.5. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the SWAS.
So public's all over Florida State in this one, heavy. Actually, as of Wednesday night, Florida State's one of the most public bets on the entire board. Over 80% of the tickets, over 90% of the handle on FSU. Line sitting at 2.5. We'll have to wait and see if this one gets up to 3. For those of you that are new to betting or new to college football, if you want to know what a look-ahead game is, look right here. You got Florida State flying all the way up to New England to play a bad Boston College team right before they go to Death Valley to play Clemson. Now, this doesn't mean the game doesn't count. This doesn't mean we shouldn't take a look at what happened. Just means we should take some of it with a grain of salt. So before we get into it, let's take a quick look at the matchup history, and it's pretty one-sided recently. 7 straight Clemson victories dating back to 2015. Most of them pretty decisive as well. Only 2 of those 7 games were decided by single digits. But I will say this might be the first time that we can look at these two teams and say Florida State might have the better team top to bottom. Now, it's still arguable. But this is the first time it's even close since, I'd say, the Jimbo Fisher, Jameis Winston years. So let's talk about what happened last week. Well, for starters, Florida State couldn't establish the run. 34 carries, just 128 yards on the ground, 3.8 yards per carry. On the road in Boston College, the run defense wasn't even good last year, to be honest. But one thing I will say, Boston College is ranked 8th in the country in returning production this season. So this is a very experienced defense. And let's face it, this is their Super Bowl. At home against number 3 Florida State. It's the game of the year for Boston College. So the Florida State offense was definitely a bit stale, but the real story, Thomas Castellanos, quarterback for Boston College, went absolutely insane. 305 yards passing, 95 yards rushing, was looking like Vince Young out there. And the dual threat was a huge factor because Castellanos broke a couple big plays early on the ground, and then Florida State was forced to account for that the remainder of the game, opening up some space downfield for some plays. Good news for Florida State would be Cade Klubnik isn't much of a dual threat. So that's not a big factor here. In fact, both of Florida State's big games this year have been against quarterbacks that can also run the ball. Jaden Daniels led LSU in rushing against them in the opener as well. They brought back 3 of the 4 starters from last year's secondary, and the guy that they lost, they replaced him with Fentrell Cypress from UVA. He was all conference last year, and he's projected to be the #1 corner in the entire ACC this season. That's who they added to an already good secondary. That being said, these numbers are a bit concerning here. Florida State's defense ranked just 56th in effective pass, 108th in passing yards per game allowed. And check this out. They're allowing 15.2 yards per completion. 15.2 yards per completion. That's 123rd in the FBS. So this secondary that's supposed to be awesome is getting beat downfield. And don't look now, but Cade Klubnik's starting to get himself together a little bit. Since that disaster of an opener against Duke, Klubnik's completing 68% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick, 163 passer rating. Now, let's not throw the guy a parade for producing against Charleston Southern and FAU, but it's definitely nice to see him looking better heading into this Florida State game. And no, Clemson may not have the dual threat quarterback that Boston College and LSU have, but they have a better offensive line than both those teams, and they have Will Shipley running the football behind it. LSU's rushing attack is good, but it mostly revolves around Jaden Daniels. Florida State's defense is going to have their hands full trying to hold Will Shipley in check. Shipley had his way with the Florida State defensive front last year on the road in Florida State, averaged over 6 yards a carry. At home in Death Valley, I expect them to gash this defense again. Not that Florida State's run defense has been bad. In fact, they're sitting in about the same spot this year they were last year. They're sitting 29th in effective rush, allowing just 3.8 yards per carry, but Clemson's got a big physical rushing attack, and with Shipley, they should be able to move the chains and put some points on the board here. On the other side, we got Jordan Travis, and if you watch this channel, you know that I'm a big fan of Jordan Travis, but last couple weeks really hasn't been that sharp. He completed over 74% of his passes in the opener against LSU, but in the 2 weeks since then, against Southern Miss and Boston College, completion percentage drops all the way down to 57.1. If I'm Florida State, I'm praying that Jordan Travis just got caught looking ahead to this game against Clemson, because he needs to be sharp in this one. When it comes to defending the pass, Clemson is as good as it gets in the FBS. That game against Duke, Riley Leonard barely did anything through the air. Duke had good rushing stats in the game, but if you take out those 2 long runs, one of them where Riley Leonard was sacked in the backfield and then somehow ran 50 yards for the touchdown. But if you take those 2 long runs out, the rushing stats weren't even that good. Clemson's defense is as elite as it gets. I mean, Georgia and maybe Penn State are the only 2 teams I would put on their level. And then you got Jordan Travis struggling with accuracy issues before going to Death Valley. Not exactly what I want to see, considering Florida State is laying points on the road here, which is why I'm taking the points in this game. I like Clemson. I'm waiting this one out. I'm hoping, and I'll let you know on the live show, but I'm hoping I can sneak a Clemson +3 ticket in there somewhere. I doubt odds makers are going to let us get that off, but if I can get Clemson +3 at -110, I will hammer it. Either way, I'll still take it at 2.5. I'm on Clemson here. If you want my top bets, parlays of the day, if you want to join the Discord, or if you want to get on the NFL Against the Spread giveaway contest, head over to KyleKirms.com. All the information is right there on the homepage. College football week 4. Oh, so many good matchups this week. So many good matchups. Remember to bet responsibly, and we'll talk in the Discord.